Because if you have a formula, race, class, and gender hierarchy, it's like painting by the numbers. You just fill in the slots. The intellectual level of our universities in the liberal arts fields I've mentioned, and several others like cultural anthropology, sociology, have never been so low in their entire history. There are more charlatans on university faculties today than there have ever been. And I will show you how these theories come together. These phenomena come together in the person of Larry Summers, who is now the chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors. Larry Summers was the most powerful university president in the history of the modern research university. He had been a member of the Clinton cabinet. He was a tremendous fundraiser. He was a respected intellectual. He was the youngest economics professor ever appointed to a full professorship at Harvard. He was appointed in 2001, and within 4 years, and he was a liberal, so he fit in with the university culture. Within 4 years, this most powerful president in the history of the modern university was censured, became the first university president ever censured by his own faculty. And then a second incident where just the mere threat of a censure from the faculty forced him to resign because he was crippled. How did this happen? He came in 2001, and one of his first meetings was with Cornel West, an African-American professor at Harvard, and an extreme intellectual lightweight, putting it mildly. Cornel West had spent the previous year. He was the reason they had the meeting is he was a university professor. That's a title. Just the way Bill Ayers is a distinguished professor of early childhood education. As a university professor, he's probably making $300,000 a year just for the salary. But Cornel West, I happen to know this because I was at the University of Denver and talking with the president there. They had just given him $35,000 for an hour talk out of university funds. So Cornel West is quite a rich man, based on the fact that he's an entertainer. No question about that. He talks so fast that you can't really understand what he's saying. If you read it, it's pure dribble, but it impresses people. But here's what Cornel West had done as a university professor at the most prestigious university in America the previous year. He had been the political advisor to Al Sharpton for his primary run. When Sharpton fell out of the race, I don't remember all the details, he became the political consultant for Bill Bradley and then for Ralph Nader. And with the rest of his time, he spent composing I wish I was making this up, a rap record with himself as the rapper. With himself as the rapper, and it was advertised on his website with a quote from his brother, which said, Cornel's CD is a watershed in the history of music. Now, where do such empty suits become so arrogant? Well, he has over 20 honorary degrees given to him by liberals who want to feel good about themselves. So they have, I forgot this the other night. So what do you call when a team has a mascot? He's a liberal mascot. Liberals have such contempt for black people. They're actually brilliant black scholars at Harvard. Orlando Patterson is one, and even though he's a total political operator. Henry Louis Gates is another, but Cornel West is not one of them. Cornel West had not written a scholarly paper in 20 years. By scholarly paper, I mean a paper that is reviewed in a peer-reviewed journal, an academic journal. In fact, well, so Summers said to West, Professor West, this is Harvard, and I would like you to devote the next year to writing a book that is reviewed in an academic journal and not just Time Magazine and whatever, New York Review of Books. And he had one other request, and that was, Professor West, I would like you not to give all your students A's. West has the most popular course, undergraduate course, because he gives all the students A's, and he is very entertaining. There's no question about that. Cornel West walked out of the meeting and announced that President Summers has a problem with black people. Immediately, Larry Summers was on his knees because all the other black professors, seeing an opportunity to line their pockets some more, and all the leftists, that's what it's about, folks. All the leftist professors lining up behind him, and Cornel West saw it as a great opportunity himself, and announced that he was thinking of leaving Harvard, while Summers was begging him to stay. Why? And of course, the leftist provost at Princeton immediately offered Cornell more money. This is Amy Gutman, who is now the president of the University of Princeton. So that was the first censure. He was censured by a vote of 200 to something like 170. So 200 professors voted to censure him, and when they threatened to do it again, that was the end of his career. That's 10% only of the faculty. Everybody else is, every other professor is head under the desk, hiding, because you don't want to have Cornel West say something like that, because everybody is pandering to bloviating fools like West and another one, Michael Eric Dyson. And it's such an insult to African Americans to parade these two clowns as though they were intellectual, significant people. As I say, there are many real black scholars, but these are two of them. Michael Eric Dyson, you may not have heard of, but I had a set to with him. And I didn't ask for him to be fired. I just pointed out that he was teaching a course which I thought was exploitative of students at UPenn, where they pay $40,000 a year tuition. And he was teaching a course in the religious studies department. It was a seminar. And the title of the seminar was Great Religious Thinkers. Rapist, a talented rapper, no doubt, a tattooed thug life on over his belly button. Gang raped. He was stupid and spent time in jail for it. This is the great religious thinker. And I, of course, when I suggested that this was an inappropriate course, I was attacked by the head of the religious studies department and two other professors for being a racist, objecting to a black professor being an idiot. Blacks not only can't be racist, they can't be idiots. It's so contemptible. You want equal respect for people, you got to treat them with respect. You think there are black people who don't understand that Cornel West is a buffoon? I have had that said to me by Henry Louis Gates in private. But Henry Louis Gates needs Cornell to cover his left flanks, and the two of them make a fortune together by putting their names on editing books. The second offense, and this will bring us full circle, that Larry Summers gave was this. A seminar was convened, a private meeting, closed, of 12 people, including a representative from the EOC and the government,